Hello and welcome back to recreating The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past inside of Minecraft. The last few episodes have been mostly about enemies, so it's time to switch things up and talk about something entirely new for this episode. Code. Yes, I am aware that items and enemies are also made up of code, because I wrote that code, but today we're covering something made of more code than you've ever seen before: the dialogue system. The dialogue system is an integral part of the game, as it will be used hundreds or maybe even thousands of times. It has to be able to behave in all sorts of situations, small or big spaces, dialogue with interactive options, a version for cutscenes, and much more. First, I needed to figure out how the dialogue would be displayed in the game. This is Minecraft, so we'll have to figure out a hacky way to get stuff on the screen that looks like vanilla UI. Without any mods or plugins, it is impossible to create custom GUI. But right as I was trying to figure the system out, Mojang dropped version 1.19.4, which added display entities. Display entities are new entities that can display either text, items, or blocks. They can be heavily manipulated, they can be stretched, scaled down or up, rotated, moved, colored, you name it. My dialogue system for A Block to the Past consists of 4 different display entities. The first is a text display used to display the actual dialogue. Second is a dark oval-shaped background behind a text, which is also slightly transparent. This uses an item display. Third is another text display in the top left corner to indicate what NPC is currently speaking. If the NPC does not have a name or they haven't revealed their name yet, this can be hidden. In other cases, the correct name, such as Zelda, can be displayed. Last but not least is what I call the next marker, which is just a small triangular display that shows up when you can go to the next piece of dialogue. This exists in almost every single game to indicate when the player can press a button to continue the dialogue. I tried to make it look like kind of a Triforce, and it also hovers up and down to further indicate this action to the player. The next part was aligning these 4 elements to fit on the screen in an orderly fashion. This may sound incredibly easy, but it was a fucking pain in the ass. Display entities have an option called Billboard, which makes them always face the player's camera. This means the only thing I have to do is deal with the size and the positioning. The size is determined by how far or how close the entity is from the player's face or the camera. The position is determined by very small increments or decreases in a /teleport command for the specific entity. Once I had that done, I was very happy with the result looking like this. But then, disaster struck. I accidentally opened the Minecraft options menu and remembered the existence of FOV, or field of view. Different players can play with different FOVs, which, putting it simply, zooms the screen in or out. This means that our dialog box becomes tiny or huge on a different FOV. Thus, I went back and manually aligned the 4 elements for each FOV in the game. I did it for like 50, 60, 70 and 80, all the way from minimum to maximum, which took me hours of adjusting. Now that we have our elements created and aligned, we have to add some text because there is no text in the dialog box just yet. As stated previously, we're using a text display for this. This means we can just change its data to set the text to anything we want. Sadly, it's not that simple because I want the dialogue to display and appear letter by letter like in Zelda games. This means every possibility needs to be accounted for. For example, let's say the dialogue we want to display is Zelda saying, "Hello Link, how is it going?" The first data change we apply is setting the text to H. The second is HE, the third Hell with 1 L, and so on until the full thing is displayed letter by letter. This means we need to generate all of these steps for every single dialogue in the game. Doing this manually for every single dialogue in A Block to the Past is near impossible, so I made a website. This is the A Block to the Past dialogue generator, a website I coded myself from the ground up using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. You can input 3 lines of text, the ID of the dialogue, what NPC is talking, and a bunch more options I'll go over later. It then generates a Minecraft datapack function for that dialogue to put in the game. The datapack keeps track of what letter it is currently at in order to display the correct step. It also makes sure that the text doesn't overflow out of the box by setting the text display's maximum line length. Once the dialogue is fully displayed, the next marker appears, prompting you to press a button to continue the dialogue. The button in question is the button in the game bound to sneaking, since we can detect sneaking with a data pack. Pressing this button after the dialogue is finished will make the game check what dialogue comes next. It can start a new dialogue, but also just close the dialogue box if the dialogue is over. If you press the sneak button while the dialogue is still appearing letter by letter, it will instead complete the dialogue instantly. It can do this because the game also keeps track of the complete maximum length of each dialogue instance generated using the website. Every dialogue instance has a unique ID to tell the game what to do and where to go next. Next up are dialogue options or choices. These are semi-rare dialogue boxes where the player can select from up to 3 responses that will yield a different dialogue box as a response. On the website, this involves checking the box next to Choice Dialogue and specifying how many options there are, which is either 2 or 3. Dialogue with options does not appear letter by letter, it simply just pops up instantly. This is because the indication of what response you are currently hovering over is a yellow color of that option. The data pack detects when you scroll the mouse up or down, because scrolling in most players' cases changes the selected hotbar slot. Scrolling lets you switch between the different responses options and changes the colors accordingly. If you selected an appropriate response, you can press sneak just like normal to sense that option, and the game will display the next dialogue based on the selected response. This creates the option for branching paths in conversations with NPCs. Some dialogue will have to be displayed during cutscenes. Our current cutscene system utilizes the player spectating an armor stand in order to have interpolated movement and to prevent the player from moving their camera around during the cutscene. This creates a problem for our dialogue system, because sneaking can no longer be detected in the spectator mode. To counteract this, dialogue shown during cutscenes will be automatically continued after a fixed amount of time, which is currently set to 5 seconds. There is an option for this one on the website as well. There is one big problem with this hacky system I'd like to bring up. In Minecraft you can look around on 2 axes. You can look around horizontally and also vertically. Vertical rotation or pitch is what causes the problem. Let's try to look up and down while in the dialogue system. That doesn't look so good. The problem is that the current alignment of the 4 elements only works at the fixed 0 degree vertical rotation, which is like facing straight forward. Any other vertical rotation breaks the alignment, which is awful. There are 2 fixes for this. The first is hard coding every single vertical rotation and aligning the entire system for every 180 degrees of rotation. I'm obviously not doing that. The second fix is Mojang adding custom GUI to data packs, which is also not gonna happen anytime soon. This problem thus remains unsolved, and the dialogue system is locked to 0 degree vertical rotation even during cutscenes, which makes this even worse. A final thing Reeves begged me to add was a third-person view during the dialogue. This means that the dialogue will still be displayed on the screen like normal, but you'll be seeing a fake third-person mode with a fake player model to give a better view of the 2 or more characters talking to each other. Creating this was much easier. When the dialogue is started, I take the player's rotation, set the vertical rotation one to -15 degrees, which is slightly up, and rotate them horizontally by 30 degrees. I then send out a raycast in this direction with a maximum distance of 5 blocks. The point it ends up on is where the real player will be positioned, facing their head towards the fake player that now stands at the old player position, where the dialogue was triggered. Those specific degrees I mentioned give us a great angle to view the conversation from. A final addition to this third-person mode is cramming the player between 2 blocks. Why do this, you ask? Well, forcing the player between 2 blocks puts them in crawling mode. In crawling mode, we can still detect sneaking, even if it has no functionality there. The benefit is that sneaking while in crawling mode does not move the camera slightly down like it does in the normal standing mode. You won't notice the difference, and sneaking to go to the next dialogue no longer impacts your camera view. This concept was actually thought out by Reeves himself. Also note that this entire third person thing is disabled if the dialogue is set to cutscene dialogue, obviously, and to hide the transition into crawling mode, I added fading in and out using a custom font character using the resource pack and a title command. And that is how it is made. Throughout this video I've shown small snippets of the system in action, but now it's time to go in-game and show off both some regular dialogue and also some choice dialogue. And that's a wrap. I hope you like this in-depth, technical explanation of a key element in our recreation. We are really proud of how it turned out, so we hope you like it too. I recently made an official Discord server for this project, so make sure to join it using the link in the description. Feel free to also leave any suggestions in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to stay safe.